Today's episode is Treja, and it features the gang all heading to a big flea market event so we can watch them all geek out collecting their favorite things. Isn't it so cute that they're willing to do that with each other? I remember when I tried to invite my friends to a big flea market event. They beat me up and left me in a recycling bin. But then I remembered that you're not supposed to invite your friends on the wrestling team to those things. You're supposed to invite your friends who are into collecting comics and geeky things like that. So I did. They beat me up too. Hold on a minute, if I'm on the wrestling team, how are my friends collecting comics beating me up? This joke is very confused. So though she's technically supposed to be running the whole thing, Twilight sets up her own stand to trade away some of the books she doesn't need anymore. Until Pinkie Pie intervenes and starts trying to drive their value up by selling them off as big princess merchandise. Until finally she reminds Twilight of how much they meant to her and all the good times they remind her of, convincing her not to give them away. Okay, so why did you bring the ones with big sentimental value to you instead of the ones you honestly had no use for? There's got to be at least a few like that in your library. I mean, it would be very ironic if you never owned a copy of Twilight. Commendable, but still ironic. Meanwhile, Applejack and Rarity pool their stash to make sure they can get the most valuable items possible, only to end up both wanting something that will cost all of their stuff really badly, which ironically leads to them fighting over which one of them should be the element of generosity and give the other one all of their stuff. Hey, don't look at me, I was the one saying it should have been Applejack, remember? And finally, Fluttershy goes with Rainbow Dash to help her get her hooves on the last first edition Daring Do book she needs to complete her collection. After sticking with her through thick and thin as they go on a wild misadventure to find something valuable enough to trade for the book, Rainbow Dash realizes what a valuable, irreplaceable, one-of-a-kind friend she has in Fluttershy. So Rainbow trades her for the book. Actually, is that legal? I mean, I know Fluttershy technically consented, but then they have a big trial afterwards to determine if everyone got what they wanted or if the trade should be reversed. Shouldn't Fluttershy be the one to say that she didn't get what she wanted, she was just under pressure to help a friend? Or does she just count as a piece of property in this scenario? I wonder if my little brother would go with me to one of these. So, does this wild adventure turn out okay, or would I rather trade it for my 22 minutes back? Let's find out. Okay, Treja. This is Season 4, Episode 22, and this is one of those episodes that utilizes a well-known scenario, in this case the flea market sort of adventure. If any of you have ever collected stuff or have been excited to go check one of those out, see if you'd find something cool to trade for. So, yeah, just utilizes one of those, throws the main cast into it, lets them all have their own little adventure, and I've received a few tips and such that this is not one of the most liked episodes. That this is another one that has a little bit of backlash, and okay, that's interesting actually, because one thing that's worth noting is that from all across Season 4, while the bronies, or at least the ones commenting on these videos, the ones that I've seen, they've been about, even keel across the board. Hasn't been that much variation in different sections of the season, but still overall, definitely, don't quote me on this, because again, I don't have the largest pool to draw from, but the bronies I've seen definitely seem more positive about the first half of the season. That's the one where, there were a lot of comments telling me that this episode or that episode is a fan favorite, and when I had criticism to give to the episodes, that's where I had more reactions like, come on, really? And okay, so the definitely seem to be slightly more positive towards the first half of this season, and on my end, I've been much more positive about the second half of the season. What both of my two lowest votes were from the first half of the season, in the first 8 episodes, in fact. That's where both of my two lowest votes were, and I said it was close to bottoming out at one point, and then, ever since the 3 great ones in a row, by my count at least, that came right in the middle of the season, since then, the worst I've said about any of the episodes was that they were okay, and I've only said that twice, so, that's... I'm not sure what the difference is, but it's still kind of an interesting difference, and it doesn't change here because I think this is a good episode. And it's not a great episode because it doesn't push anything over the edge, or doesn't really go above and beyond with anything, but you don't have to do that every time. Sometimes that's okay. This is an episode that seems to know what it wants to be, and it does that just fine. Like, I mean, it's not the funniest, but there's some pretty good humor here. It's not the biggest moralizer, you know, it doesn't have like a knockout message, but it does have some good points that make for some sweet moments, and it's not like Return of Harmony level creative, but I thought it had a good time thinking up some colorful characters and some exotic scenarios to put the gang in their little flea market adventure. So yeah, I think it's a good episode. It does, I mean, there are points where it's a little bit tedious, so okay, I could see that, or points where it's maybe a little too obvious or a little too sappy, so, I mean, you know, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but I mean, you know, those those are barely even play out before it's right back in there with something that's creative and fun again, so, I mean, I'm honestly not sure I even see what the problem is, but, okay, so, just going through everything, I mean, it's, everybody gets sort of a different adventure, so, okay, I guess just what I liked about each one in a nutshell. Yeah, first, of course, is Twilight's, because, yeah, this is the big, some big traders event, I mean, that they hold every year, and so they need a princess present, and because last year they said it was Princess Cadence, I remember, but, okay, so I did really like that, first of all, just getting into what comes with royal duties, because, I mean, that hasn't been unaddressed, but, I mean, relatively few and far between. A lot of these episodes feel like not much has changed as far as Twilight's concerned, so, okay, I did like seeing that, and especially since it's not just how the fact that she's a princess inadvertently affects things. This is like, no, she's called upon to perform royal duty this time around, and she has to deal with the celebrity treatment, and, I mean, that was kind of fun to see, just how the cute little kid comes by and says, oh, can I help you? And he wants her autograph, so, and she's rolling her eyes at that while she's signing it, so, okay, a lot of fun there, and then to the plot, because they each sort of explore a different side of trading, this kind of scenario, collecting stuff and trading stuff, and so, yeah, Twilight's, of course, is, when you have too much stuff, like, or when you have stuff you don't necessarily need anymore, just, is it healthy to get rid of it, and, so yeah, in this case she has some old books she's already read that are causing her library to overflow, and she was going to trade them away for something she didn't even need until Pinkie Pie intervenes and turns herself into an auctioneer and starts playing up how these are the books of a princess given to her by another princess, and I mean, there was some good humor in that, and also some moments that were, like I said, a little tedious. It's like, okay, Pinkie Pie, you're trying too hard. So, I mean, that was, but I think, what really what's the real reason to show up for that part is Twilight. 'Cause, I mean, I think does a great job still exploring her character, or not even exploring, just depicting her character, how she isn't comfortable with, playing up her value to sell these things, she doesn't think she should be, she thinks that's ripping people off, so she doesn't like that, and then also how it eventually explores how Pinkie playing them up so much makes Twilight realize that they do have value to her, that, they made her who she is. There's a lot she read them during a lot of important points in her life, and she remembers just like how caught up in them she was, how much she loved them, so she really wants to hold on to those as reminders, so it brings up that too, how something you don't necessarily need can still have value, and I did appreciate that, although I might have liked to see them still sort of bring up the other point, how, the other way, how, okay, when you're overflowing with stuff you don't need, there is some value to maybe getting rid of it, getting something you need instead. Like, I mean, my favorite books I've ever read, I'm probably gonna hold on to, and, for as long as I can, but I mean, if I had another copy of a separate piece, I'd probably trade it away for just about anything. If I said another copy, if I had a copy of a separate piece, I would trade it away for just about anything. I did not like that book, but, anyway, okay, so that was pretty good. Rarity and Applejack, they sort of explore the, how tricky it can get when you get a friend involved, when you're like pooling your goods, and how maybe you have to understand what's valuable to you is not necessarily valuable to your friend, and then how, that comes a point where somebody can get the short end of the stick. So, Okay, they explain, because, yeah, Applejack wants a pie tin that's old and rusty, but will cook pies 5 seconds faster, and they don't make them like that anymore, and Rarity wants a pin she already has, but is, older, I forget what the justification was, but, yeah, the one she wants was made earlier, so it's more valuable, technically, so, okay, and, I mean, that can get pretty complicated, I guess, with, just, yeah, who should get the short end of the stick, and I mean, there's being generous, but there's also letting someone take advantage of you, and what I really liked about this moment, though, is how, eventually when it becomes clear that, yeah, they can't both get what they want, they start fighting about who should be, who's gonna be the better friend here. Like, Rarity says, I insist, you take it all. No, I insist, you take it all and you get what you want. There is no way I'm going to let you be more generous than me. Because especially since, yeah, the first time those two had to work together all the way back in, episode 8, I'm pretty sure it was, where they're at a sleepover, yeah, there was so much they couldn't stand about each other, and I mean, they're still very different, of course, but, yeah, then, like, they've, after all that, all we've seen since then, they've arrived at a point where they're fighting about who's going to be the better friend to the other one, and that did stir a little affection in me, which I'd like to think is still pretty significant, because, I mean, I think, keep the show on arm's length, even though I have no problem enjoying what I think is great when I find it, but, yeah, so I did really like that moment, too, and then, of course, the main adventure with, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. Rainbow Dash, who wants a first edition book for her series collection, and Fluttershy, because she's the element of kindness, really wants to see Rainbow Dash get something that means so much to her. And yeah, this adventure, I mean, I'm sure this plot's been done plenty of times with plenty of examples I can't think of. What it reminded me of was an episode of Ed, Edd and Eddy. This is the first one that came to mind. I could probably think of more where they did this, but anyway, yeah, where they want to trade for an egg, but they don't have anything the guy wants, so they have to go to someone else who has it, who has what the guy with the eggs wants, and then they also want something that Ed, Edd and Eddy don't have, so yeah, it sparks a whole chain until they find something that they can trade, that they already have the required item to trade for, and the payoff to that was just a fixed view of a section of the street and them running past and out of sight a whole bunch of times with a different item, every time just letting us take in how complicated it got, which was funny, but I did like what this does. It sort of gets more creative, because then on the way back up the chain there are also problems, like the guy is out to lunch or they accidentally break one of the items on the way. And, yeah, I thought they had a lot of fun, too, just thinking of scenarios to, yeah, exotic solutions to this. Like, a guy is in line for an oat burger, so they, and it's a really long line, so they have to jump behind the concession stand and start cooking burgers for the guy, who never says anything. Yeah, they just start cranking out oat burgers as fast as they possibly can, while the guy is just watching them with this wide-eyed expression. And, yeah, just like all they have to go through to get this book, so, okay, a lot of fun there. How the last thing they have to trade for before they can get this book is this two-headed dog that only Fluttershy can tame. I kind of wish they'd came up with something a little more creative than that. The Orthros, I think it was called, which, yeah, some legendary Greek monster, but, alright, we've already kind of did that with Cerberus, so I might have liked to see them come up with something a little more exotic or whatnot, but I mean, I don't know, I guess a two-headed dog is easier to make lovable than, I don't know, a snake monster, so, okay, that's what they trade for, and I mean, it was still kind of fun how, yeah, Fluttershy, it can train this thing while it's slobbering all over everyone, and, alright, and I guess, I mean, Rainbow Dash does sort of underappreciate Fluttershy through the first part of this adventure. Yeah, how she came for a bird whistle and she forgets about getting one of those when it comes to the chance to get Rainbow Dash what she wants. But yeah, Rainbow, she doesn't show a lot of outward gratitude, and then when it comes time to trade for the book, the one with it decides she'll only agree to it if Fluttershy comes back to her house and helps train the dog for however many months that's going to take. And okay, I could see that maybe, I don't know, maybe this is where the backlash comes from, Rainbow Dash trading Fluttershy away. Fluttershy only reluctantly agreeing because she wants to please Rainbow Dash. But I mean, I thought that was actually a pretty funny moment, just how, Fluttershy's looking at Rainbow Dash like, you really gonna ask me to do that? And Rainbow Dash is like drooling just like the dog because she's so obsessed with this book, like she can't even hear it. And then it's like, so do we have a deal? Of course we have a deal! She grabs the book, starts flying through the air, and I finally got it! Hey, Fluttershy! Oh. That's sort of, I think them saying, like, okay, for the sake of argument, there's probably a scenario in which this could happen, in which Rainbow Dash would get carried away and, trade Fluttershy before realizing that you can't do that. That was pretty stupid. So, okay, I thought that, playing it up with the comedy, like, letting us know that, okay, this isn't supposed to happen every day. This is a sort of a great exception to what otherwise wouldn't happen. But, I thought that the comedy there worked. I thought I didn't mind that was our conflict at the end. And, alright, and then Rainbow Dash asking Twilight to reverse the trade, which is the royal duty here in case a trade warrants being reversed. You have to take the complaint to her. So, okay, and so Rainbow Dash, the rule is if both ponies get what they want, then the trade is fair, and Rainbow Dash did say she wanted that, but then her defense is that she just forgot for a second that nothing is worth more than a friend. She gives this big speech about how it couldn't possibly be fair because of how important Fluttershy is to her, how important friends are, and as mushy sort of speeches about how friends are more important than anything go, I didn't think this one was too bad. It was far from the worst one I've ever heard. I made a couple of good points in there. I couldn't read it back to you off the top of my head, but how the pony they're trying to trade with, how she's the one who says that that's the sweetest thing I ever heard. Okay, I'll trade back. I mean, that was about right. Instead of having her end up forced to give back Fluttershy and everything, how she's the one who sees that, okay, why it should be reversed. I mean, that seemed about right, and and then the reason I thought that this moment also really worked is just because it's Rainbow Dash, because how she got caught up in everything the whole time and was not showing Fluttershy the most outward gratitude, how she's not the one who's most inclined to do this, but then, okay, now in a scenario where there's a legitimate chance of losing Fluttershy, and she has to be the one to sort of fight for getting her back. That's why I thought, when she succeeds, that the next moment really works, where she just like tackles Fluttershy in a big hug, and then the dog jumps on both of them and starts licking them and stuff. That was also a pretty sweet moment, so I did appreciate that. And and the moment after too, where Twilight announces the trading, the trading officially done, just as Spike is about to hand his comic to the guy he's trading with, and they both just sort of look at each other and swap quickly and just run away. So, definitely fun there. So, okay, and then of course the wrap up on the train where Rainbow Dash traded the dog for a bird whistle, which was what Fluttershy wanted. So she, after being the most generous of all, is the only one who gets exactly what she wanted. But alright, everybody's sort of resolution there, I thought, worked pretty well, was a pretty fitting endpoint for them. Rainbow Dash, the last line where Twilight gives her an old copy of the book she wanted, which is not a first edition one, but still a copy. She says, "It's even better because I get to read it with all of my friends." I mean, that's one of those moments where it might have been going a little too sappy. I mean, it might have been better if they'd done something like, "Oh, I get the princess's personal edition. How could this not be better?" if they'd gone more that route. But I mean, it's a little too sappy, but I mean, it's still, reminds us of, the point we've arrived at in a nutshell, the message and everything like that. So, I mean, I didn't mind it, I guess. So, okay, I thought this was a good episode. Not everything about it was done well, but I thought, in spite of that, it knew exactly what it wanted to be, it knew what it wanted to be well enough so that, it still seemed airtight. It still seemed like an episode that was very much its own thing and very much worth watching. So, okay, yay vote for TradeJet. And the next one is Inspiration Manifestation. So, alright, come back for that one.
None of those ponies had anything valuable enough to trade for my books. Not because these books belong to a princess, but because they help make me who I am. Just like you said. This is the one I was so absorbed in the day Spike decided he owed Applejack a life debt.
Actually, it might be better if we all forgot that episode. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, send it to your enemies. And if you'd like to talk about this some more, you can join the community on Facebook, Twitter, or one of the other links posted down in the description. And don't forget to send me your videos or fan art relevant to the show for Viewer Appreciation Corner at the end of every month. Thanks for watching.
You take the first sip, Snuggle Wuggles.
Nope, you take it, Schnoodlebum.